Hey guys, Keegan back, and I'm here with another video for you guys. And today I'm going to be showing you about a Polaris RZR 170. All right.
I guess you stopped it. Huh? Okay. I guess my daughter just told you what we're gonna do.
Shut up.
I'm just kidding. So if you got, let me give you a quick rundown on the good, bad, and ugly on these 170s. That's a 09 RZR 170. From new, it had the tires and rims there on it, and Muzzy exhaust, and the roof and the stereo. That was about the only mods. At about 50 hours, 50 gentle hours, it just started running like crap. Wasn't idle. Kind of had to slam it in gear. It popped and surged. Got to the point, it was just make you think maybe the exhaust valve wasn't closing. Just pop, 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 pop. No power whatsoever. Black smoke. Spark plugs will be wet, and you just black soot all in the exhaust. So I took everything apart and cleaned it. It made no difference really. Foul a plug out within minutes of riding. So to get these things running right, first I ordered a new fuel pump. It did not change the popping and wouldn't want to run. Come to find out, these are very sensitive on the secondary air system, the PCV system and all. All the little boxes you've got, you've got that one behind the air filter, and this metal one here. If you overfill the oil, engine oil, any bit whatsoever, it sucks it up through this one here and into the start of the system, and it will make it run poorly. So I cleaned all that, and it kind of helped. I put new plugs. I checked the valves. Everything was in spec. So we ended up finding out what really turned this thing loose and give it its potential. You got these guys saying do the jets, buy the different jets. The numbers they're throwing up online in the difference in the jets ain't enough different. It just ain't. I've worked on these things, and I've got trays full of different jets, and that ain't gonna do it. The machine is starving for air. The factory air box on these things suck. With a brand new filter OEM, they suck. Aftermarket filter, they suck. So you got to do a mod on the air box, and there's several different ways of doing it. The way we did it was cheap and quick. You take your factory filter inside your box there. It's a paper element filter. And take a razor to the bottom of it, or start at the bottom and cut around it. You're going to leave the bottom on the factory filter as far as let me just take it out here. Inside of here is the factory filter, what we're working with. And, there's your close. That's the solid end that would be on your factory. And you would have had a big white paper element all the way around it. So I took a razor to my factory filter, if I had it in my hand, and did this around the bottom against the rubber as low as I could get it, and pulled it off. While doing so, I realized the top ripped. I said, well, that ain't what I was trying to do, but it turned out it was what we needed to do. So if you tear the rubber off the top, fine, because it needs to come off. You want to leave it on the bottom and cut the top off. And when you do, you'll be holding just basically a see-through wire mesh. Go get you a little uni pre-filter, maybe $5. You know, some filter kits like that actually come as a filter and the pre-filter, the red thing, which my buddy up here at the motorcycle shop just give me the pre-filter. But you want to I took my little girl's hair bands, and I put the pre-filter over it, and I got 2 around the bottom. And you stretch it up, and actually this filter mashes back in pretty good to the wire mesh, kind of holds it, you see, the way it's tucked in there. And I put one at the top, and with no bending or squeezing or anything, it's a good snug fit on the little lip you've got in there. And he rides the hell out of it, bouncing and beating, and it hadn't come off. That lets this machine breathe. So still yet you've got the problem of the factory air intake is mounted right here between the seats, and it's got a cover over it, and you're sitting there basically sucking back in. You know, if these things run a minute, it's hot in there. You can feel the heat coming up. You're just sitting there sucking in hot air. So we just turned the neck up, the factory neck, straight up. And this was a little rubber union that was on a vacuum clean, like an old vacuum cleaner, Electrolux back in the day. And that was the tube for it. That's aluminum. You can use whatever, PVC. And that was the hose for it. So, you know, I strapped that there with a clamp around the boot to bring the small to the big. And I went up under his do-rag here. His machine's redneck like us. It wears a do-rag. And brought it out right here. And it's kind of like a ram air. I mean, it took this thing from kind of running all right to, you know, if he's doing a turn out here in the yard and gets on it, he can drift and fishtail it and sling it around, and the ass end will try to pass the front if he don't get to whipping the wheel. You definitely want to do something with your air box. That's the way we did it. It didn't cost us really nothing but time, the pre-filter. And after you do that now, you may have to, on your carb here, you know, your right screw, that's going to be your idle up and down. Twist it to the right to idle it up, to the left to idle it down. But this one right here, some of them will have a slot depending on what, if it's which month the carburetor was made or your machine was made. Some of them's got a slot for a flathead, and some of them's got the little half moon here for some sort of key, but a pair of needle nose does fine. That's your fuel air ratio screw. Factory setting, if you took it apart or just want to say, hey, I bought this machine used, I don't know where it's at, screw it all the way in to the right as far as it'll go, close it, and then you come back out 2.5 turns. So, you know, I do a flat-headed screwdriver or a pair of pliers, half, one, half, two, half. That's standard setting. Now with the increased airflow through the air box, you're going to have to tinker with it a little bit. We opened ours up a little bit more, I think another probably 3/4 of a turn. But how you'll know it's right with your machine sitting here idling, when you know, if you play with it, and you'll hear your machine run the smoothest. When it's idles, that screw will kind of either start to choke it out, and then you start turning back to the left, opening it up. And when it gets to the highest point of you know, just that's where you want to stop. And because if you keep going, it'll start choking it out the other way. And that's about it, man. Only other thing we did was the factory fuel lines and all on these things seem to deteriorate and get little particles of black crap in your low speed circuit in the carb. I bought this yellow stuff here. It's they make it red, blue, yellow, whatever. It's a lot better than the black, and it's a little bit bigger. And I put a fuel filter on that's got the teardrop shape. I think I got a spare one somewhere I was going to show you. That helps it get the air bubble out of your fuel lines. Instead of being perfectly round like my pinky, it looked more like a triangle, like a. Let's see if I can show them here, Keegan. I'm gonna put this cover back on. Was there not one in the floor there? Anyway, I don't know where it's at. Right here. There's one. That's a good fuel filter for these machines. And of course, read the flow, the way it's supposed to flow. And that keeps it a little bit. Factory, that thing's got a hollow. It has to have, it's 0 micron. I mean, it's hollow. It's white, half the size of my pinky. I don't know what the purpose of that is other than a line reserve for when you stomp on it. And possibly the carb's asking for it quicker than it can pump it. But that does a lot better. I replaced the factory fuel pump as well. A lot of people will replace these, and they are serviceable. You can take this apart, take the screws out. Be very careful not to tear. You've got like 2 or 3 gaskets. But a lot of people replace them, and all it is on the back side, if you look on this brass, and if it's dirty, you'll not see this, but you see those little holes? If they get clogged up, the diaphragm can't breathe. It won't let it actuate, but you know, that's a lot of times what I find is wrong with them. Another thing to make sure, you know, your needle, I keep ours on the second from the top. You know, that you got the top and then the next one. That's the one I keep our clip on the, well, I don't see it laying in here, but you'll see that when you take it apart. You know, that would be how you drain the water out of the fuel on the bottom of your bowl. Turn that. If you suspect water in fuel, once you drain it, pull the choke on or hold your hand over the air box to make it, if your battery's kind of weak, it'll really fill the bowl up quick if you make it suck that hard. Always make sure on that's your float that's in your carb bowl. You've got that right there is your needle seat. Always make sure that black tit's on there. It hangs on the bottom of it, and that's what closes the fuel off. So if you've got fuel running out of your air intake neck, and just like, dang, this thing's got fuel going everywhere, make sure your float is seating all the way. A lot of times this ethanol fuel will eat that away, or it'll have buildup on it. That's just a splash guard. A lot of times people take this stuff apart out in the yard and they end up putting it together and saying, what's this we found? That goes on the inside of there. All that does, you ain't got to have that. That's a splash guard. That's about it. He's saying we need to wrap it up, but we'll come back and show you guys too, because when I took ours apart the first time, there's not a single good video on YouTube of where every vacuum line goes. Matter of fact, we're going to end this one and show you another one right now, because I know you guys need it, because I could never find it. I ended up trial and error, and go breaking down and going to look at one on Craigslist just to see. See y'all later. Fire it up for them. Let's let them hear it before we. Now, and before this thing, you'd have to sit here and choke on, choke off, pat the gas, battery'd be dead. It ought to just bust off. It ain't been crunk in 2 or 3 days. He ain't even hit the gas. His foot is not on the gas. That's what the airbox mod will do for you. And I can tell you guys on this next video a little trick about, you know how you got to press that brake pedal so freaking hard to start it, like a safety feature. I can show you what to bend a little bit and make it so you ain't even got to press the damn brake. Over and out.